So the short is based on real events that happened to me and my wife, the co-writer Mercedes Arturo, while we were waiting for some sort of travel permit that became a nightmare. And as we were going through the experience, we started feeling that it felt like a thriller. It had high stakes. It had moments, twists, turns, horror, jump scares, everything that you need for a film. So to cope with the situation, we started taking notes, and eventually, you know, the alchemy of art to turning like a bad thing into art, made this film possible. After that, we, all our friends joined to create the film. So super happy to be showing it here in Sundance.
I feel like so many times we join stories about immigration and they're very concerned about how the subject or the characters get to the US. And I'm personally interested in stories about what it's like to be there, what happens next. And also, I think it's a great insight to the struggles of migration that are not necessarily like, you think of like a legal migration or a migration that's like okay, it's also kind of a nightmare sometimes. And I also love the dynamics and the themes of work versus relationship. You know, I have dived into filmmaking in the past few years, and so playing a director as an actor has been super meta. So I also wanted to like I don't know, we bonded a lot about it when we were talking, and I just had a great time. And anything for Nico.
This is basically a story that I lived as well during my green card process. It was very, very similar. I was married at that time in that relationship. I think it ended basically because we didn't survive that process, and it was a back of and forth of documents of like I remember that they telling us like this is not a legit award, this is crap, and me having to go to the award office in New York and asking them like, hey, immigration is telling me that your award is crap. Can you give me a document that proves that you're not crap? And they're like, of course, we're internationally renowned. And I'm like, well, show me. I need to show them. And so all of that. And at some point, I booked a very important show for me in Colombia. And I remember the lawyer telling me, like, it should be fine if you go. And I'm like, what does it mean it should be fine? I'm building a live here. Shouldn't, yeah. He was like, yeah, sometimes when you get in, it depends to the officer. And I'm like, what does it mean? And then what? No, I can't deal with that. It was a lot. So when I read it, I was like, I know this story. I lived through it. It's very intense and complex trying to build a life somewhere and not having that guarantee actually that you're gonna be able to build that life there or to get in again to that country and to that life that you're trying to build.
For me, we were sort of more in the creative side. Also, Blaine is just a star, but um, I remember us. I was doing a play in New York, and Nico came to see the play with Mercedes, and we went at a skyscraper office that was like empty and looked kind of post-apocalyptic, and we started talking about this, and we were going deeper. And what my intuition, kind of embodying her in a development place was like I think the relationship also matters a lot. I think so much of narratives with work and love, they tell us that as women, a lot of the time you have to choose if a healthy relationship or a work life. And I really wanted to bring that into the character. And I'm really glad that, we can have those early conversations.
Yeah, I actually met Nico last year at Sundance at the Latinx house on the dance floor. And we became fast friends. But I looked at all his work, and he's a very accomplished commercial director, and he does a lot of mixed media. And he presented me with this idea basically of doing live action and animation, and Everything Everywhere came out last year. And I was like, oh, but I haven't really seen shorts really play with this. So I was very excited to kind of push the boundaries of filmmaking, and I hadn't done anything animated before. And it was a mostly Latina cast and crew, so it was fun to create with all my friends.
So I'm a self-taught filmmaker, and I grew up creating things that really merge different mediums. So for me, it's kind of natural to go back and forth from VFX, live action, animation, and so my process is very organic, and it works in iterations. So we started with the script and some storyboards for the animation, and eventually, when we shot the live action, I think the work came to life progressively. We did many phases of ADR. So we had recorded the voices for the animation many times until we got the tone right. I think we did at least 3 sessions. And well, then it went through the pipeline that, the traditional pipeline. So people got, the animators got those storyboards, and eventually, brought everything to life. So kudos to Brute and Monstro Studio in Italy, who were so fundamental to create this, and a lot of their craft is really the DNA of the film, and I'm super proud of it. It was done by a very small team of very dedicated people. I think about 4 people pull it off. It's 4 minutes of cell animation, which is very ambitious, and it's really a miracle that we could do it in such a short amount of time. It really was a labor of love.
Well, I was also the first AD. So we had 2 days in Nico's personal apartment that we shot in. So we
includes 2 cats.
and 2 cats were there. So like Video Village was in his bedroom, which was fun. So that was really fast, and there were like 15 people in a small apartment, but we were having a blast. And there's also Candy Crush type game is like the basis of the animated world. So there's also a lot of candy on set because that's how our transition into the world. So we were all a bit sugar high as well.
One of the challenges that was that the cast and the DP were eating the props.
Huge problem. I really hope that I think piggybacking on what Gabby was saying, I think that it's a story of immigration privilege, and that's why I think it was so important, A, to create it, and B, make it into a comedy so we can laugh about ourselves a little bit, because we don't want to take ourselves too seriously on this. But it is, we always say, if it's so hard for us as immigrants of privilege to go through and navigate the system, it's just a testament of how fucked up everything is, and for people that are less privileged. So we want to, occupy that place of like, a comedy, a horror comedy that takes people on a ride, that it's fun to watch, but when you connect the dots, it really talks about the struggles of immigration for everybody.
That was killer.
That was killer.
Yeah,
No. I love the privilege, and I mean, I can't believe I went through that process with a expensive lawyer in Broadway Avenue with a beautiful office, and it was kind of a nightmare. I can't imagine for someone how that process is by themselves, or I couldn't have done it.
But I think also to that point is also talking about immigration in a deeper sense. Yeah. That is not just, you get here and everything is easy. Even though the words for these things like, you're awarded a green card, you're alien of extraordinary ability. Like it's very specific language that still authorizes you from the inception of coming here. So I think it's just cool to have nuance in that story, and it's a testament to you.
Thank you. And I think I love what you said before, because I think there's the focal point of the story is a couple that's going through this, and we wanted really to humanize them. And I think Gabby was fundamental in bringing that element to the story of like, okay, what happens to an ambitious person that also wants to have a life and wants to have, a partner, and has to go through this process, and that process threatens the relationship and puts tension in the relationship. And I think that's the emotional core of the film, although other things are themes embedded in it. But I feel like that's what people resonate with and make them laugh and cry and hopefully connect with the film.
And you're developing it as a feature, is that right?
We are, yes. For everybody out there, if you like it, we are working on a version that keeps the world and the characters, and it's an adaptation. I really don't believe, for myself, I have respect for it, but I don't believe in proof of concept. I think that a short should be an art form that has a completed narrative that takes people on a journey with a beginning, middle, and end. And so that forces you to think of the short as its own thing. And then we think there's a lot of potential to expand this into a feature if we take the characters, if we take the world and the visual themes and symbolic themes and turn it into maybe a different premise of the same characters. So, yeah.